It's without a doubt that the mercenaries of Ilea are gold hungry. Due to the rough conditions that these snowy mountains provide to its inhabitants, it in turn creates the most rugged and desirable mercenaries all across Celeb. Who they fight for does not matter as long as their contractor can provide what matters. This paints a picture of bloodthirsty and ruthless killers, but the people of Ilea are famed across Celeb for being loyal. Yes, the harsh Ilian mountains make these sellswords one of the best, but perhaps loyalty is these knights' greatest selling point. And there's no one better to embody the idea of Ilian loyalty than the Winter Knights in Fire Emblem 6, and more specifically the leader of the group and first king of Ilea, Zealot. We first meet the Winter Knights, Zealot, Trec, and Noah during the Ostian Rebellion in Chapter 7 of Fire Emblem 6. The mercenaries were originally hired to help protect Ostia during Lord Hector's absence, but with the news that Lord Hector had fallen in battle to the Wyvern General spread quickly to the capital. And with the mercenaries not being there to help protect Ostia, a rebellion starts to happen. With Roy and company soon coming to suppress the rebellion, the mercenaries show up and decide to fulfill their obligation that Lord Hector had originally asked them to do by giving their aid to Roy, the new leader of the Lycian League's army. In all honesty, Zealot, Trek, and Noah's first initial impression doesn't really show much or do much for their character, except to show that they're loyal to a fault. By all means, Roy's army should have been wiped out by how big the rebellion was, and especially more so since the rebellion had the aid of Byrne's famed Wyvern Knights helping the rebellion out in the back. But because they were contracted by Lord Hector, now dead, they decided to help out the new leader of the Lycian League army. Joining them was basically suicide. Let's put this into perspective. Their former contractor is dead. For Zealot, the leader of the mercenaries, showing this level of loyalty to what is basically now a void contract is not common. But by Ilian mercenary standards, this is completely normal. We can see examples of Ilian loyalty in the prequel, Fire Emblem 7, The Blazing Sword, in a support conversation with Fiora and Pent. Though the mission that Pent had sent Fiora on had ended in failure, Fiora still feels the urge to report back what she had learned in her time at the Dread Isles. Pent feels guilt in the fact that he had sent people to their deaths, but Fiora seems indifferent. She was ready to die for the sake of the mission. Another support conversation featuring Fiora, and this time her younger sister Florina, shows the reason why they're so loyal to the mission. I quote, "Then I just have one last thing to leave you with. As a senior Pegasus Knight, listen closely. No matter what happens, even if you have to take a mission that you are sure you won't return from, never quit a mission that you have already accepted. We don't just fight for ourselves, we fight for the pride of the entire Ilian Pegasus Knight Brigade. This is something that you will learn quite well someday." What this support shows is that if the elite squad of Pegasus Knights fail, then it affects everyone back at home. It's the same for the Winter Knights in Fire Emblem 6. They're heading into the battlefield ready to die, ready to fulfill the contract that Lord Hector had given them by serving the new leader of the Lycian League army. But past all this contract junk, perhaps the biggest form of loyalty that these knights show is a dedication to the remaining mercenaries back at home in Ilea, and to the Ilian mercenaries serving out in war currently. If by chance one of the mercenaries are labeled cowards, unable to do their mission, then this affects the rest of the mercenaries that come from their home. Their failure means their people suffer, and so they would rather die on the battlefield. This is why the Winter Knights, mostly General Zealot, are looking out for one another constantly. Just like the name Zealot implies, Zealot embodies the ideals of Ilian loyalty, and it shows towards his comrades. This is most evident in the support conversation between Zealot and Trek. Trek, who's known to be an airhead, is constantly scolded by Zealot for dozing off during the battle. While the support conversation is humorous, Zealot, being a hardened Ilian veteran, just wants Trek to be the best knight that he can be. But perhaps the biggest takeaway from this conversation is that Zealot, like Fiora, once again mentions how they are to take pride in being Ilian mercenary knights, once again showing loyalty to the sellswords back at home. And so maybe this is why I get so emotional reading the support conversation that Noah and Zealot share. The support conversation exemplifies the loyalty and trust that these knights have with one another, though in a very somber mood when put in comparison to the support conversation shared between Zealot and Trec. In this support conversation, Noah is instructed to write a letter by the off chance that he dies, but Noah insists that he doesn't have anyone to write to. Then, in their B support conversation, Noah comes to a realization that he wants to write to General Zealot to show his gratitude for taking care of him throughout all this time. If it wasn't for the general, Noah firmly believes that he might not have made it this far. And finally, in their A support conversation, one of their former comrades have fallen in battle and a letter is delivered to the general, their comrade's will. Zealot asks Noah if he wants to read the letter, still unopened. But Noah declines, almost as if he knew what kind of words were written on the letter itself. The support chain ends here, leaving readers like myself in a rather emotional state. But for Noah, writing to General Zealot is a sign of thankfulness. Zealot is constantly looking out for Noah, even before joining up with the Elysian League. This is a big deal to Noah, as because of the mercenary lifestyle, Noah's philosophy is to not get close or too attached to other people. And so wanting to write to who he's most thankful for is a big step away from his philosophy. While the final support conversation is sad, we see Noah's resolve and his outlooks on relationships evolving. We don't see the aftermath of what happens after this support. It leaves us readers in a rather somber mood. But I like to think that though the Winter Knights are once again ready to put their lives on the battlefield, Noah's resolve towards General Zealot becomes an unwavering rock. If we were to look at the plot of Fire Emblem 6, the Winter Knights don't really contribute much towards the plot, besides the fact that Noah can recruit fur later on in the game. And even in the Ilian route, we just learned that Zealot's old castle had been captured by Burn's forces and nothing more. But like the snow that falls and sticks together, the Knights of Alea stick together behind the scenes to really show what it means to be a proper Knight of Alea. Thanks for watching.